Emmy nomination for her work as producer and writer on the children's series Postcards from Buster on PBS Kids, where her love for reporting on cultures and communities came together as she conceptualized and produced several shows about the lives of children around the world. Priya is a graduate of Duke University with a degree in comparative area studies focusing on South Asia. She is a founding board member of the India Center Foundation, which is a cultural nonprofit organization based in New York, dedicated to the study of the Indian subcontinent, the promotion of its cultural life, and the unique relationship between India and the United States. It is my honor to welcome Priya.
Hi, everybody. Pulkit, thanks so much for having us here. It's really, really fun to be working with you again. I'm Priya. I'm a co-founder of the India Center Foundation. And, you know, it's interesting how in COVID, our identity has really evolved and grown in really wonderful ways. We really are here to promote and preserve and encourage talent from the diaspora of South Asia. And we've done that in a number of ways during this COVID time, not the least of which is an arts fund that has been supporting South Asian artists in this time that we cannot gather in person to see and watch and experience their work. So we're paying them to keep making it, and we're very proud of that. And another way that we're doing it is to partner with friends like CoSAFF, who have found innovative ways to just keep us all together, watching each other's work. So we're super happy to be here. Kaleidoscope Stories was something that we were actually working on with Pulkit before COVID happened, and we pivoted yet again and turned it into this wonderful short series. So thank you for watching today. I'm going to start by saying that if you have any questions for any of these filmmakers and their teams, you can go to slido.com, SLIDO.com. The event code is 14666, 14666, and you can put your question there and we will gather them, and I will try and make sure that I get as many of our questions answered as we can. So please feel free to join the conversation that way. And now I think I'd like to just get into the wonderful teams of filmmakers and creators we have here. First off is director Sheitel Shah, who's film Off Duty we just saw. So Shetal, please join us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Priya. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Sheitel Shah. I am the director and writer and producer of Off Duty, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm in New York. I'm excited to chat with everyone.
Great. The next team is, or I'm sorry, filmmaker is from Most Likely to Make It Out Alive, Rohan Chaterjee. Rohan, come say hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good, good. We'll get into it in just a second. Sriram from Bru'dhars. Thanks for sharing your film, Sriram.
Thank you. What's up, everybody?
Cool. And then Ashish, Valentine. From Stuck, the director of Stuck, along with Nadya. Noman.
Hey, nice to meet everybody.
Hello. And definitely last but not least, coffee shop names. Deepak and Kausar, come say hi.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, thanks for having us. Grateful to be here. I'm Deepak Sethi. I'm the writer of, Deepak Sethi. That's my whole film pronunciation, so I should get it. I'm writer director of Coffee Shop Names.
And I'm Kausar Mohammed, correct pronunciation. And yeah, I was a part of Deepak's project.
Cool. We'll get right into it. I'm gonna kind of start off by asking, I'll go film to film. I kind of have a general question for everybody and then something a little more specific, but I guess I'll just go in the order that we started introducing ourselves. Shetal, I think I certainly want to know what inspired this film idea, and you know, is there a personal reason behind why this project happened?
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. There is actually a personal reason. It's based on a true story of something that happened to me at a post office in Atlanta over the summer. I was trapped inside the post office by the postal worker because she thought that the homeless woman that was there was a threat to me. And I was like, I'm from New York. I can handle this. I'm good. Let me out. But, and then it just evolved. She called the police, like in the movie. And I was conflicted about my behavior as far as the homeless woman. She was asking me for money, and I was in a rush, and there was like, the post office was about to close in like 1 minute, and I was in a really big rush. I had to get this thing, sent. And I interacted with her, and through that, she came to believe all sorts of things. And then when I left, finally was released from the post office because the police officer showed up, she was treated in not the best way. And so I tried to intervene. I tried to help out, to no avail. And I left feeling really conflicted about the whole thing. And I just had to make the movie. And not only that, I really needed to get into the shoes of the homeless woman. And so that's why I played the homeless woman. I just really wanted to know more about what her experience through all of that was.
It's so fascinating that your point of view on the film was, in fact, maybe started with the point of view of the homeless woman, because actually my question for you was going to be about the protagonist, about our internal affairs cop. And I'm interested to know why you characterized why you characterized her the way that you did, but also why you chose to do the reveal of who she was the way that you did. It comes in clues, obviously.
Right.
There are some things about how she interacts with the world that are not at all surprising.
Right.
And then of course there is this big reveal with the police officer. So I'm actually really interested to know why you chose you gave her a kind of power and agency, but you also revealed it in a way that I think makes the audience really understand her conflict. So can you talk a little bit about those choices?
Yeah, absolutely. And you nailed it right on the head, Priya. I was playing with stereotypes of folks, all the folks in the film, not just her, the police officer, the homeless woman, the owner of the store, the people that were in the market. And I was trying to flip it on its head. You think you know what you're watching because of the information that we're given in society, because of the way certain folks are portrayed in society. And I wanted to knock that off its pedestal. I wanted to surprise folks, and I wanted to empower her. I wanted to, take every person and give them something that you're not expecting, just to kind of say, we aren't who you think we are, to really confront that head on.
And I think it's that sentiment actually, that nobody in any of these films is actually who you think they are, or that it's like these characters. What's so wonderful about this collection of films, and I'm just going to put this idea out there if anybody in the audience has any questions about it, is I said it to Pulkit earlier when he first let me watch your guys' films, I was like, oh, this is like the next level of Desi identity. Like, we're not just talking about having come, we're not just talking about our relationship to family, we're talking about our relationship to a bigger world and actually each other because of how differently we all interact with the world. So there are so many identities and stereotypes at play in all of these films, and we'll get to all of those. I have sort of related questions for all of you on this front, but it's an idea I'm just going to put out because I actually think this collection of films really hit that really, like,
yeah, absolutely. And to add to what you're saying, one of the other pieces that I realized actually in working with the film was also the issue of females and women of color interacting with other women of color and how we either support or don't support one another. I think I came to that conclusion as I was working on the film, and I thought that was really an interesting piece of this as well.
Thank you. I will get back to you. Let's see. I'm going to go next to Rohan. And actually, this is a good segue because I was thinking about something a little bit similar with your film too. But I do want to start with my baseline question, which is sort of what inspired the film idea. Was there personal experience, maybe with the genres? Like, there's something very obviously there's a genre thing at play here. So I'd love for you to talk about your inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved like genre films. They're sometimes kind of looked down upon, but I don't know. I think they especially like horror, comedy, science fiction, they all kind of give us like these kind of very, it's like a rigid cinematic convention where you can like understand stuff about like stuff that happens in our, you know, everyday lives. And yeah, I mean, I guess the personal inspiration, you know, I had like a little cute tagline at the beginning that says like it's based on a hazy recollection of a memory or whatever. I would say maybe the first 45 seconds of the film are based on my real life, showing up at a like a lake house on prom night by myself, looking around and saying like, wow, we could all die tonight. And then, you know, everyone else being like, why did we bring this guy? So that's probably like the, you know, that's the based on a true story part. You know, I cannot say that the rest of my weekend had us being stalked by a masked man, but yeah, and I think that the reason that I kind of wanted to go into this genre is because, you know, we all kind of have like a very specific idea of, you know, you say like a you know, group of teenagers go to a lake house after prom night, like everyone kind of has their idea of like how this is going to play out. You know who everyone is. You know, as soon as you see the blonde guy with curly hair get out of the car, you're like, I know who this guy is. Like I haven't figured out. So I wanted to do, I guess, two things: make the protagonist someone who isn't normally found in this kind of film, and not only that, but someone who is a fan of this kind of film. So is kind of, it has like that self-referential aspect to it. But on top of that, yeah, I felt the connection immediately when you said that about everyone is not exactly who they seem, and you know, when I tried to kind of set everyone up as an archetype at the beginning, and hopefully the audience, along with the main character, realizes that, you know, sometimes you jump the gun trying to get a read on people.
Right, which was a beautiful takeaway at the end. So there were a couple things. I was going to ask you about the significance of Nikhil actually being Desi. Like, why does that matter in your film, or does it matter in your film? And maybe the point is that it doesn't matter in the film. It's just that he's there. But I'm also really interested in this idea of, you know, a kind of universal genre belonging to everybody. You know, people of color have certain roles in certain genres. There are archetypes there too. Right. Obviously, there are big films that have played with that. So talk a little bit about that, and sort of like, what's the significance of that particular guy in that particular role in this particular genre?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. In most horror films, the person of color would probably be the first to go, which I guess is kind of a joke on the title. But yeah, I think that him being at the center of the film, I guess, is to kind of take like a side character and put him at the center and see how he like feels about his place and everything. And, you know, like something I've always sort of thought about in art and kind of in our everyday lives is just thinking about like, you know, there's a kind of idea that everyone's like the main character of their own film and everything, you know. And I was trying to think of how I was going to relate this back to your question, but I forget.
Well, I think
repeat
that
the second. There was a good part in your question that
I kind of forget now. I sounded good like a minute ago.
Yeah, there's something really good there.
I think the point is, I was trying to make is what I kind of dig about what you did is, it's a genre he clearly loves. He knows it really well. He's probably watched tons of them, and he's like imagining himself in it. And I wondered about this idea of a brown kid who loves horror movies. I don't know why that struck me the second time I watched your movie, but it kind of did. I didn't the first time, but then I thought, oh, I think Rohan did kind of a cool thing here. He gave that kid some ownership over something that, like, I don't know, it's just maybe not a mainstream conception that there's like some, you know, nerdy cinema head brown kid sitting somewhere just like gobbling up genre movies, which of course half of us did, but there, it's cool that you put that on screen. So I just wanted to make sure that was heard.
Thank you. And it's something that you mentioned actually brought me back to what I completely missed the first time, is that you were asking about, you know, whether it actually matters that he's brown, or, you know, it doesn't matter at all. And something that I was thinking about is that like prom is like a very inherently American thing, you know? Like if you go to any other country and you're like, oh, prom, they're all like, who cares? Like we have dances at our school. Like, what is this? Like, why is this so important to you? And I think that like, it's kind of a story of like someone who like desperately wants to be American, you know? And like, they kind of feel like half in there and half not. And they're like, am I like part of this picture? Am I like supposed to be here? I feel weird. Everyone kind of wants me here, but do they like, am I actually like part of this, you know? So I think that connects back to like that larger thing of, you know, Americanism.
Yeah, and the nice thing is the rest of the ensemble, the way that he's actually like there and a part of it. I mean, and they expect him to be there. They want him to be there. They, you know, they know his quirks, but he's totally accepted actually. So that was actually, but he's the one kind of questioning it, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. We'll come back to you. Sriram, I am just, oh, hold on just a second. Great. So Sriram, I wanted to talk to you too about personal inspiration. This felt like a deeply personal film, but I'd love to know where the idea for it came from.
Oh yeah, so this is like the life that my brother and I shared, and we have to, you know, figure out how to work it, you know. So it's some parts were exaggerated, some parts were understated, but it's just like a piece of our youth, you know. It's just like what we had to do, what we did.
And in real life, were you in the role of elder brother or younger brother?
Oh yeah, I was the older.
Well,
Yeah.
and the reason why I ask is actually, so I think I told you guys before, I've worked in television. You heard on my bio that I've actually worked in stuff for kids quite a bit. And I was really struck by the point of view that you chose. You chose kids' point of view. I don't actually see that much when I, you know, come to South Asian film festivals and watch films. I'm personally really moved by kids' point of view. I think that they are telling. I think that they're usually pretty raw and honest. And I thought it was a really interesting approach to take. And I wondered, you know, why and how you started telling the story that way. And I was also really moved by how you depicted the mom. She was, you know, you just saw parts of her in passing, and you kind of heard her in this ethereal kind of passing kind of way. And I wondered why you chose to depict that point, most of the point of view of the film from the kids, but also the mom, how you did, because it was powerful.
Thank you. So to start with the mom, like at that point in our lives, like we didn't really know who any of these people were, like who our like parents like really were as people. It was just like it was like a very cold upbringing, right? So it was just people living together. It wasn't necessarily a family. So these young kids, like when they grow up like that, like they don't have the connection, so you don't really know who like that person is. It's just like a monster to you at that time. So like when you can't see somebody's face or really see parts of them like that, at those angles, it become very scary, and that's how we saw her at that point. And the kid's point of view, it's like I chose that because it's like these two young guys, and they have to like they're in this heated moment with each other, and none of them know exactly why they're doing what they're doing. They don't know what's going on. They both have a lot of stuff going on inside them, but they don't know how to express it. It's all raw, it's all boiling, and they're all like they're both on the edge of like almost self-destruction, and then they get a chance to save each other in a way. That's what happened. So
yeah, well, you know, in my work, I spend a lot of time thinking about how a kid at a certain point in their life would react to things happening to them. And I thought you captured, you know, those two boys at those particular stages of their lives. They were really, really, really beautifully done. You clearly went back and thought very carefully about what happened. So it was very clear. So thanks for that. We'll come back to you guys. Let's see, I think next is, I'd love to chat with Nadya and Ashish from Stuck. Nadya, I know this was originally a concept that you thought about, and I would love to ask about your inspiration for Stuck, and maybe if it came out of any personal experience.
Sure. So the inspiration for Stuck was actually really simple. Basically, I was watching a lot of ghost movies, possession movies, and I was like, what happens if the ghost is not Christian? Because every movie I was watching was, oh, let's call the priest, or like, let's find a Bible, or like somebody get a cross. You know, it was just like, I don't understand. Like, what if the ghost is Muslim? And I was like, wait a minute, I have an idea for a short film. And that's sort of the long and short of it.
That's awesome. Ashish, do you have anything to add about sort of like what drew you to agreeing to direct this and working with Nadya on it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the script, and I loved Nadia's idea for it. And kind of similar to Rohan's film, I mean, what really appealed to me is this idea of using genre to kind of advance like a cultural critique. So the whole point in the film is like, there's a whole set of like reference that are unique to like Muslim or South Asian Muslim cultures, or, you know, Muslim cultures generally, that the film treats as normal, the way that like a American ghost story will treat other kinds of cultural reference as normal, which is funny because so many like white horror movies are actually just based on Asian storylines, and then they're like whitewashed anyway. So I just thought it was really witty and really appealed to me, and I was really happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. It's actually, you've sort of half answered the question I was going to ask, but I'll put it to Nadya, since it was your concept. But I love the idea of taking on questions of identity and expectation with humor. And sometimes that's like a very insider thing to do. Like, we can all laugh at our struggles together, but usually people on the outside don't laugh at it because they don't know what they're allowed to laugh at and what they're not allowed to laugh at. You know what I'm saying? And you just put it all out there. So can you talk about deciding to put it in the context that you put it in, which was hilarious and adorable all at the same time?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess I'm sure many a South Asian has sort of gone through the absurdity of being like, there are 3 career paths you can have in your life, and here they are. And sort of, I was really curious about what happens when like you are sort of confronted with all of these expectations and not really knowing how to be autonomous in your navigation of like, what is it that you want to do? So I kind of just started dreaming about like, how can I make this consumable while not feeling like I'm like shoving it too hard and people. It's just such a delicate balance when I find a story that traverses that balance so beautifully. It like speaks to me, and also there's so much levity that it doesn't feel as though I'm receiving something that's hard to consume, I guess. So yeah, and then I just filled in the blanks with like things that I found funny and was like crossing my fingers that somebody else would find this funny. And luckily for me, I had an incredible co-writer, RT Ishaq, who like really helped me figure out like what jokes were landing really well and what ones like needed to get. I'm pretty sure there were like 15 iterations of gin puns in there, and we were like, okay, here are the ones that work best. So it was just a fun process that we tried to make sure that we weren't putting too much pressure on ourselves to like do it perfectly. Just like make the thing and see what happens.
Yeah, which I think, I mean, just to do one of those universal moments, but I mean, as somebody who's made a feature-length documentary film in India about a very serious topic, I'm always super psyched to watch a series, you know, a block of shorts, because I think you all are like fearless. You can just go for it. I think you're fearless not just because you can take on things in any number of ways, but also that you choose to take on an entire story in a really curated way. So that's kind of badass and very difficult to do. And but also you can take these kind of chances. You can just play. You can just think. You can, you know, it can have a really, really sort of you can do it like in a, you know, confined set of time and space, which is really wonderful. Which kind of takes me to the next film, which is Coffee Shop Names. And Deepak, there are a couple reasons why I feel like this is a good segue straight into Coffee Shop Names. Not the least of which is I feel like you took well, first let me ask you about your inspiration first, but I think you're also doing a really interesting thing where you took a really curated literally frame of 3 people and blew it out into something much bigger. But let's start first with your inspiration. And was there a personal experience attached with making this film?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me, but my Zoom is having some problems.
We can hear you. Your picture's just stuck.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
that is better.
Yeah, Zoom just said I had to reboot, so hopefully that does not happen. Great timing.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't hear any of that question. I was going through that.
That's okay. My question, I'm just going to give you the first one, which is sort of what was your film inspiration? What was your inspiration? Was there anything personal behind it? And then I'll get to the next thing.
Okay, first of all, so grateful to be here amongst everyone here. The filmmakers here are just amazing. And my sort of interest was, why do we select the Starbucks names that we select? There's something about the selection of your Starbucks name that makes me laugh, because that's going to be your name for a long time. There's some personal thing in there, even if it's just close to your name. There's some identity there that I think is kind of funny, because for me, I use Derek, and in my brain, I'm like, well, Derek's this cool pilot, that is friendly to everyone, because pilots don't talk to people, and Derek would talk to people. So that's sort of how I came up with that, and then wrote it into something where each of them, including Kausar Mohammed, who plays Rocky, her name was Rachel, and so she transports into this amazing independent bookshop owner, which I think is funny to me, and that's sort of the inspiration of the film. Oh, I think you're on mute, Priya. Sorry.
Thank you. So Thomas, who's an audience member, had asked, what's your coffee shop name? So you answered that. Kausar, what is your coffee shop name if you had one? And also, I'd love to hear how you feel connected to this film and why you wanted to do it.
For sure. My coffee shop name is Shakira, which I feel like does say a lot about, and you're right, it totally, the name you choose does say a lot about you, I think. So that in that way, I think the name, the film resonated in the sense that I think it's something that we could all relate to, or having to justify our names over and over again, and just being like, you know what? Today I'm not fighting. Today my name is Shakira, and they know how to spell that because Shakira is the best and everyone can spell her name. So in that sense, it really related. And my name, I think, Kausar, it even particularly within the South Asian community, it still is a harder name. So it very much resonated.
I hear you. Deepak, the reason why I thought there was a good segue kind of from Nadya talking about her film to yours is I feel like in some ways, the way that she used humor in a kind of insidery way, it struck me when I watched her film. And with yours, I had this feeling when I finished it, like, oh, he kind of took like an inside joke we all have, and he kind of revealed it to the world. Like we clearly all like, and full disclosure, I have a coffee shop. Well, I used to have a coffee shop name, but this is very interesting. And I think it's generational. My coffee shop name used to be Sarah, S-A-R-A, but actually it's based on Sarah, who's my Pakistani American like best friend from college, but nobody knew that I was actually basing it on another brown person. But she was always Sarah. So, but I have in the last, I'd say 7 years, I've had more baristas say, oh, I went to college with a girl named Priya, and now they know Priya. So it's like, the cycle has turned, which is funny. But well, what is it about? Why share an inside joke? Like why share an inside joke? Why reveal it? Like, how does that help you tell a story that you want to tell?
First of all, I had the exact same experience with Deepak Chopra, because no one sort of spelled Deepak right or even pronounced it right. And then he became famous, and I was like, thanks, Deepak Chopra, you've helped me out. And so that worked.
I think, Priya, you're muted.
Deepak looks to be a little stuck for me. So I think he may have, that's okay. We'll come back to him. But Kausar, do you have any ideas or do you have any thoughts on this idea of an inside joke of a community kind of like being revealed on a larger stage?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this idea of the more specific you get within writing and comedy, and that's how it becomes more universal and more accessible. And I think that's exactly what inside jokes do. And it takes, I think, a specific lens to pinpoint what is this inside joke? What is this? And Deepak's brain, I give him the credit for pinpointing that, because it's not just the coffee shop names, that's been done, but it's like, why those names? And I think he did that so well.
And I think the depth to which all of each character had thought through their names. I mean, that Derek's an airline pilot who's chatty, that Rachel owns a bookstore, you know, an independent bookstore and has principles and wouldn't entertain Beyonce without her crew. I mean, these are absurdly well thought out stories. Mine was more just like an FU, like my Sarah's actually brown, like FU, but that was as cheap as I got with it. But it was a great piece of storytelling, I thought. So some questions are coming in, you guys, from the audience. There's one for Sriram from CoSAFF, and I'm just going to read them so that we get their words. So CoSAFF says, toxic masculinity is a topic that is taboo in the South Asian diaspora. How did your family and friends react when you showed them your film?
I think they had a tough time comprehending it. But my friends, they're all like very curious and interested into like that take. They're like, I don't think they reacted negatively, but they were definitely like intrigued by like how that individual like carried himself and how he behaved that way. But I don't think they necessarily took it as toxic by any chance.
Do you think your family, or were you at all nervous about sharing your film with your family and people who maybe you had based some of it off of, or did you have any trepidation about sharing it with people close to you who may have experienced your life as you were living it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially with like the mother aspect, that was very nervous for me. I felt I felt very bad for like kind of like throwing them under the bus in a sense as for her, but I don't know. It was a weird thing, but I thought like something you had to do. But you know, besides that, no, nothing.
Yeah. That's always an interesting choice that I think a creator has to make when you choose to pull from your life, whether good or bad. It's personal, and you just have to make a choice whether to go. And you did a very brave thing. So yeah.
One thing is like, I don't know, I just want to say is like, as filmmakers, like, you know, when we're pulling for our lives, like it's our lives, right? So we have like the right to use whatever we have in it. It's ours.
Absolutely. And I think making a film like this is the ultimate show of that level of agency over your own story. Because I think, you know, every choice you make as a filmmaker, you know, how you chose to depict the mother character, how you chose to depict those brothers, and what was important to them. I think that's the really wonderful thing about, you know, a community like ours telling our stories, is that we have a choice, just like, you know, Shetel and diving deep into the homeless character, or making that woman the protagonist, an internal affairs, you know, officer. You clearly told us that there was backstory there. I mean, she was going to get a date tattooed on her arm. You clearly told us that she had a lot going on behind these decisions. And it's incredibly powerful that you guys, you know, choose to share this stuff with us in your point of view. I'm going to go to another question because they are coming in. Shetel, there is a question for you. I don't have the name of the person asking. They say, what were the challenges of being a director and an actor in the film, especially with such a heavy subject?
Sure. And if I may add, I was also pregnant. That's a real baby in there. So talk about heaviness. It was heavy in so many different ways. It's such a good question. And, you know, a little bit about myself. I started off as a filmmaker exclusively, and then I put the camera down, became an actor, and then obviously now have combined the two. And yeah, it is challenging, you know. I mean, Robert Redford makes it look really easy, but it is really, it was a challenge for me as to be able to focus on all of the other people in the scene and be there for them. You know, I think I did just think of myself last and kind of put myself in the scene and did what I needed to do, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of, how many months pregnant were you?
8 months.
Oh my God.
No,
Wow,
it is-
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I thought me just flying to India back and forth with a kid was a lot when I was shooting, but you win.
That's still a lot too.
I have a question for Rohan. Rohan, somebody is asking, it looks like a horror film, but ends up being a horror that is not scary. What would you call this genre, and how did you come up with it?
Wow.
Yeah,
Who has this? That's tricky. Yeah.
not me. I did not think
I
of
don't know. I don't know. Like why did I get such a hard question? Okay, I don't know. I like market it as not market. I don't know, I'm not selling it, but I like pitch it as like a horror comedy coming of age kind of thing, because I mean that's kind of what being a teenager feels like, though, you know, like every like I feel like when everyone's a teenager, like the smallest problems are like life ending, and like every like the way you like view your life is like, oh, like this week I'm in a romantic comedy, and like next week I'm in like a thriller, you know, like I have a test coming up, like I'm in, you know, Uncut Gems or something, you know, so like it's everyone's. I feel like that's just like, and that's kind of what I tried to like get at with like merging coming of age and genre, is like being like, oh, you know, for this kid, like he is living in like a horror movie right now. So.
And I'm remiss. I should have said that you also actually made a film from a young people's point of view. I shouldn't. It wasn't a Sriram, but there's something about the way that prom is like faux grown up. It's like a night of being a faux grown up. It's bizarre.
Right. Yeah.
So it made me skip that part of it. But good answer to a hard question. Let's see. There is a question. There was a question for Stuck. For the team Stuck. The question is, are there some interesting stories in Islam about Ghostbusters because it emphasizes on Muslim women in that profession? So I think this is a slightly edited version of the question, but I think the question has to do with Islam and ghosts and ghostbustings, and maybe why you focused on women Ghostbusters.
I'll take that. And the answer is going to be not satisfying for this individual, so I do apologize. Most of my research was actually just asking my mom and like my aunties who are not actually my aunt, you all know, about like jinn stories that they had heard when they were kids. And the amount of information that these women have is just unbelievable. So I just have a notebook full of jinn stories. And then I was like, all right, how do I then translate that into something that feels a little bit more accessible for folks who don't have that background? And so it was I'm sad to say that I don't have as much information about ghost busting or handling in Islam as I would like, but that's definitely been something that I've been reading up more on as I have had ample time during this global pandemic. So yeah, it was sort of just like, how do I take what I know, and how do I take what I know from a very American standpoint and smash those two together? So that's my answer.
Yeah, no, that works. And you hit on something that I always think about as a mother, not that this is hugely relevant, which is like, oh my God, our moms all know so much stuff. Like, I'm supposed to know so much stuff? So I think you went to the perfect source. I have a coffee shop question, Kausar, and we apologize. Deepak was having some massive computer issues. His computer may have crashed. He may or may not be able to rejoin us, but we have Kausar here, and she's going to do her best, and it's going to be great.
I'm going to channel his spirit.
Do it.
Just call me Deepak. Yep.
I will call you Derek. Emily has a question for you. Emily asks, are coffee shop names also used as a sort of defense to avoid the projections white people are likely to make when you give them your real name? Good question.
Yeah, well, I think to exist as any other in white America, it takes labor, it takes emotional labor, it takes extra time just to have to explain yourself, whether it's bringing the lunchbox with the Indian food and the kid being like, oh, what do you have? Or mehndi on your hands and having to explain what that is. And I think for me, at least, the name sometimes is like what you said, where it's like a screw you, like my name's going to be whatever my name's going to be. And then two, also just like for me, sometimes it's like, I don't want to engage. I don't want to engage today. I don't have to explain myself today. I want to normalize myself. And so, but in that sense, it is also that freeing feeling of like y'all don't know me. So I think it's all those things, but I do think it is in a way a tool of assimilation, but also a tool of defiance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also yes, I think the secrets that we sometimes keep behind those decisions, they're only ours, and there's something a little empowering about that. Yeah, and not having to explain yourself. And yes, some days you're just more tired than others, and you don't want to have to spell it and all the things. But I applaud Emily for asking the question, and because it's weirdly one of those things that we all think about, and we don't even realize what extra work we're taking on, that we have to think about that kind of stuff. There's another question for Sriram. Somebody is asking Sriram about the spelling of the title of Bru'dhars, wondering why the name has the apostrophe in the spelling that it does.
Oh, I was actually trying to just think of a cool way to say brothers in a different way. And I want to make it unique so it will be better in the algorithms and for identification. So
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, how would someone say it in an Indian accent? And it's like brothers. Then it's like, okay, how do I spell that? Okay, we're gonna put apostrophe, we're gonna put some other weird symbol there, and then apostrophe looked the most aesthetic. So it was a completely aesthetic and yeah.
It was a design choice. Got it. That's a good one. Yeah, well, filmmakers make all kinds of decisions, right? We have to think about all kinds of things. So Varsha actually has a question for actually anybody who wants to take it, and everybody if you feel like taking it. What do you hope that your film will achieve? I'm gonna ask Ashish, because I just haven't heard from you in a while. But Ashish, what do you hope Nadya and your film achieves? What do you hope people take away from it?
Man, that's a really interesting question, and I'd love Nadya to, weigh in after me. I mean, my day job is as a journalist, so overall, kind of anytime I do any kind of film or artistic work, I'm hoping that it fills in a gap that I don't think journalism is capable of doing, in terms of telling stories from the perspective of marginalized communities without relying on some concept of truth that's kind of determined by power, basically. Like, there's all this stuff that we tell ourselves that we think is important that doesn't make it into the news, even if someone like me is like covering these communities. So that's basically what I hope it achieves, is like telling stories that aren't otherwise told through those kinds of formats.
Nadya, anything you want to add?
That's a great answer. This is why Ashish is my director. I wanted to add that I like being able to show that like Muslim women can be funny, and like we can also have ghost movies. And I just like being able to say that, we also have all of these stories, and like y'all can watch it and enjoy it just like you do all of these billions of white filmmakers that are doing this on a daily basis. So that was sort of my idea for that.
Yeah. And just to just sort of like bring Ashish's point home. I mean, I spent 5 or 6 years making a documentary film in India about a big topic. And at the end of it, I kind of wished I could have written a screenplay, not because I couldn't do everything, but I actually think I could have done more. It was a sensitive topic. It was difficult to get people to talk about it, but there's this incredible opportunity when you guys write screenplays to actually collect all the truth and then weave it into something that will strike people and really get their attention. And all of you have managed to do it. Shetal, do you have any thoughts on this question from Varsha? This is a great wrap-up question, by the way. So this is how we're going to, yeah.
Great question. And Ashish really nailed it. We have an opportunity to tell stories from our point of view, and especially with what's happening right now in the world. I think all of these films, are so relevant in portraying our communities in the way that we want to portray them, and in a way that is nuanced, as complex as we are, all from comedy to drama to supernatural to children to you name it, that's who we are. And we want to share that and put that out. And we have the ability to do that. And I think, that's definitely, for me, I can speak for myself, that is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this film, is to portray folks in a way that is not this stereotypical way, of looking at us.
Yep. Got it. Rohan, anything you want to add about what we all hope to achieve here, what you hope to achieve with what you made?
Well, I don't know. Like, I feel I don't feel good about saying that my film will achieve anything, but because it already has kind of like achieved what I think I was looking for out of it, which is just like, like Nikhil is based on like every negative thing I see about myself, and so like I was just like, and I don't know, that may have, I like cast myself in the movie, and like I was like, I'm just gonna play him as like the worst version of myself possible. And like I think in doing that, was kind of like a act of self-hatred, but like in the end, it kind of made me like be okay with myself a bit more. I was just like, it is kind of like therapy, like creating art in a way. Like you work through your problems, you come out hopefully better on the other side. So that part I think has already been achieved, because I can happily say I'm no longer the person I was when I was 18.
Yeah. And I only just want to say that, like, by you doing that, you put it out there for other people to feel it too, which is
right. Yeah. And I guess that is that's the other part, which I'm kind of just joining my voice to the chorus, saying that like, just being able to show that even in something that has lasted decades and decades, like one of the most popular genres, which is horror, saying that there's always new perspectives, new voices to be added to it. And
Awesome. Sriram, any particular goals you had with your film and things you wanted to achieve? What is it that you wanted to say?
Oh, I think I'll go off Rohan. I think it already achieved what it was meant to. I just want to practice the craft of filmmaking and, just put a piece of myself out there, and then, show a side of me or express myself in a way that everyone may not know, and just have fun with it and learn from it. And, just make a film that, speaks to me. That was it. I was very happy when it finished.
Awesome. Kausar, you want to finish up for the team, for Team Coffee, what you guys really hope to get out of it?
Yes, Team Coffee. And I think in two parts, like the first part being from like a larger script perspective, echoing off of what we're talking about in terms of what you see isn't always what you get, and the dynamism of the characters. They all are IT tech people, but have these wild lives, and that's what I love about it so much. And like what's underneath the people, what's underneath. And I think Deepak also did that so beautifully visually. You see dry and drab, and then you see bright and colorful, and it's like what's on the outside versus what's on the inside. And I think that's what the script does so well. And then from an acting perspective, what I wanted to gain from it was, or what I appreciated that I got from it so much was the range of the role, going from like being able to go from super dry to doing a musical number, which I would have never ever thought that I would ever get the chance to be in sort of a more like Belle Disney princess outfit because of the color of my skin. You know, that's not roles we're given. So that's what I loved so much about it, and just so grateful for the whole experience.
That's fabulous. That's an awesome way to wrap up. And I will just say that, like, I'll take it back to an original idea from the top, which was just that I think that you guys are playing in a space that is not just about, I'm a brown person who got plopped in a place and what do I do, and my parents don't understand and my family doesn't understand. And you've taken it to new levels, new depths, new kind of nuances, new intersections. And I think audiences, brown and not, have so much to learn from it, and to relate to, and also to question and to talk about. So that is the whole point of us doing this work. So I just want to thank you guys. Thank you to the audience for the wonderful questions, and for watching, and for being a part of CoSAFF. Keep watching this whole weekend, the rest of it. There's still really good stuff. And on behalf of the India Center, I'm super, super happy that we got to take part in this. You guys were wonderful, and your work is also wonderful. And I hope that we see more of your work really, really soon. So thank you, everybody.